My name is Rick Bowden. I am the president of the Pinckney Putnam Hamburg Hell Chamber of Commerce. And before every election with contested races, we always have a candidate for them. And that's what we're doing tonight. This is being filmed on July 20th. We're going to have Rick Todd, who's our superintendent of Pinckney Community Schools, and he's going to share with us about the bond issue that's on the next election.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you first off for being patient. This is a long evening. You didn't tell me this is going to be a 5-hour event, but it's great to have everybody here, everybody who's going to be watching online. We're very proud to showcase our tremendous facilities in our school, and although we generally have this event at the township offices, I was very excited to offer this facility so we can obviously be safe and abide by all the social distancing guidelines. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rick Todd, and I'm not only superintendent of Pinckney Community Schools, but I'm a proud resident of Hamburg Township for the past 21 years. I've been with Pinckney Community Schools for 23 years, and I am now in my 8th year as superintendent. So I have 4 children, actually now 3. My oldest just graduated, going to be heading into the military, but my other 3 are attending Pinckney Community Schools. So I truly believe in these topics and issues that we've heard about this evening, and I'm sure we'll continue hearing about. I'm proud to say that I have a great relationship with all the township leadership, from Hamburg Township to Putnam Township to the village offices to our little hamlet of Hell. And so it's been one of my favorite parts of being a leader, being a community member, is working in partnership with all our local agencies, because we all have the same goal, and that's to make this community the very best place for us to live, for my employees to work, and for me personally, for our students to learn. And that brings me to the big topic that I have to share. And in 5 minutes, it's very difficult to do, is to speak about a bond issue. And the bond issue, you've seen signs, you've seen hopefully things on the internet. If you live close by, you've received one of these postcards that we sent out to over 21,000 residents here. And hopefully with this, that you've taken the advice and you've gone to the website, because that's really where we want people to get informed. And that's really our goal, is I think somebody mentioned here this evening, is we just want people to be informed, to know about the bond, and if you're not sure, is to contact me personally to have just some really good personal dialogues and questions. And I really embrace those opportunities, because first off, I can tell you right now, school finance is probably one of the most complex things that you can ever be part of. And I'm in my 8th year as superintendent, and I'm still learning each and every day. And my Board of Education is continually learning. And there's a lot of misnomers and misperceptions, and also just some really good questions that people have to ask of the why. And I'm more than happy to provide those opportunities. And once again, in this 5-minute snippet, I'm not gonna be able to get into great detail, but what I can say is that since our last bond in 2010, I hope that this community has seen, since I've been superintendent back in 2013, is that despite the challenges we've had to embrace as a community and as a school district since the 2007 recession, is that we haven't let those challenges inhibit our ability to grow and to be a valuable resource and asset to this community. In this time that we've had to make significant challenges in our district, closing over 4 buildings, restructuring, and even just recently we've seen the paper having to lay off 21 teachers. Some of the hardest work we've had to do is that we continue to innovate, and we continue to be use our ingenuity to use the resources we have to get the best return on investment of every dollar we spend. In the past 8-10 years, we have actually grown our opportunities, not cut our opportunities for our senior citizens, for our current students, for those who may not even have students in Pinckney Community Schools, and that's a lot. Only about 20% of the people who live in this community actually have kids who go to school here. And we've heard some of the reasons because of the dynamics of our changing community. So when we look at a bond, we want to say, what does Mr. Wagner down the street who doesn't have schools, how can he benefit from that? How can the senior citizens at the senior center benefit from that? How can those folks who send their students to Light of the World or maybe to Brighton area schools, because of the day and age of school choice, that's just the reality we live in, but how do they get best value in their dollar? And that was one of the ways when we designed this bond, is not only is it really necessary from an infrastructure, we have to keep things moving and heating our buildings and cooling our buildings and having the buses and all the stuff that we just really have to invest in to be sustainable for the next 10 or 15 years. But we are the greatest community resource in this area, and we want to remain that. Because what I want people to think of is, think of this community without Pinckney Community Schools. Think of what this community would look like without us here. And in today's day and age, and now with COVID, when we just heard about some substantial budgetary cuts we're going to face, and we're going to face them, significant. That is a true reality, is that we can no longer exist. And that's a scary place to be. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to live, I don't want to invest, I don't want to be part of a community that doesn't have a local thriving community school district. And so what I encourage people to do is really think hard about how can we invest to make sure we're sustainable. And if you want to know the details of the bond, like I said, I can do over a 2-hour presentation on that. But I did do a 45-minute presentation that's a video, a podcast that's on the website, that's on this postcard. If you don't have one, you can grab one on your way out. That I go to every single item that's listed on the bond. And you're going to see a lot of it's just things to sustain us, to keep us going. It's not sexy, it's not extravagant, we're not building any new buildings. It's replacing 6 mammoth heating and cooling units on Navigator next door. Each one costs $1.2 million. It's replacing a whole fleet of buses that I have to replace in the next 10 years. It's building more school security because we know in today's day and age that's a necessity. It's about replacing the technology infrastructure that was built 10 years ago. And I ask anybody in this community, how many of you have the same modem in your house that you had in 2010? How many of you have the same router? How many have the same cell phone? How many of you have the same computers? And I guarantee none of you are going to say I do, but guess what? We do. And people expect us to continue that on. It's not realistic. I have to replace all of it. And the number of devices that now are tapping into our network has quadrupled and continues to increase. And now that you've seen COVID, and I'm now expected to provide a full virtual educational experience to over 2,400 students. And those who don't have wireless capability, I'm expected to provide it. Those who don't have computers, I'm expected to provide it. I'm more than happy to. But I'm also looking at losing $2 million in the next month when the next state budget comes out. That's why we're asking for support, because we don't want to settle. We want to make sure that we are a great place for residents in Hamburg Township, in Putnam Township, in the village, in all our areas to want to invest here, to build here, and to have businesses. And those of you who've been here long enough is none of us can thrive by ourselves. Our business community cannot thrive by themselves. Our residential community cannot thrive by themselves. And the school community cannot thrive by ourselves. We must all work together, and we must all invest. I know how important it is to invest in our local businesses, and I make sure I do that. I know how important it is to work with our realtors and our Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a part of the board of directors on, because I know that's an important part of our success. And obviously, you know, as superintendent, I know how important it is to invest in a high-quality educational experience. And so I do hope and encourage anybody here in the audience or online at home, take an hour to watch the video, to look at every single item that we have applied with the state of Michigan to invest in the next 10 or 15 years. And the truth be known is we don't have the extra cash and the resources to provide these. And one thing I'll end with in the next 2 minutes, it's really important to know is that 80% of our school budget goes to pay people. And that is the norm across the state and northern country. We are a human resource driven profession. It's not about more pencils, it's not about more books. The difference are people. It's good teachers, good custodians, good principals, good quality folks across the board. I have, once again, I keep saying 4 kids, now 3 kids. I want the best adults supporting them when they're here. So that's where my budget goes. That means the other 20%, I have to pay for bills, I have to pay for utilities, I have to pay all the extra stuff that comes with running a school district. And the state of Michigan does not provide any extra resource for what we call capital outlay. Those are projects. Those are things break, how do I pay to fix it? When things break in your house and my house, I either have a savings account, or if the cost is too big, I refinance my house, I get a home equity loan, I go to Home Depot and get a 0% credit card and lets me pay for 5 years. As a school district, I have none of those options. The bond is the only option we have. And I'm proud to say that we can do this without raising the tax rate. Our tax rate is 7.55. And I wish I could say I can lower it, but there's nothing I can do to lower it. The truth of the matter is, in 2027, the rate is expected to start receding. For $59 million to help us sustain the things we need to sustain for the next 10, 15 years, what we're asking voters to do is approve that now instead of 2027 for that rate to now start being rolled back, it'll be rolled back in 2032. It's buying us 5 years. It's basically, so people say, well, you're not raising taxes, and yes, you are. That's why it says no tax rates increase. And this is very transparent on our website. This is not a hidden secret. It is saying that instead of 2027, you're going to allow us to now hold that rate at 7.55 until 2032. And then it will be scaled back. And, you know, I'm a homeowner as well. I mean, I got 4 kids going to college, hopefully. I know how important it is to make sure we hold on to our resources. But I want the best out of Hamburg Township. I mean, I've seen how Hamburg Township, I see how Putnam Township, I see how they do a good job using their resources. And I think we've been credited as a school district as well. For those of you know, we have financial challenges because of declining enrollment, because of the shaping dynamics. I'll let you know that 2 years ago, I invited the Department of Treasury, the state of Michigan, that's a scary place for schools because they're known to take over schools. I invited them in. I said, I want you to come in and I want you to look at our books. I want you to look at our audits. I want to look at every expenditure we had. And you tell me if there's something that we should be doing differently. Because I want to know. As a leader, I want to know. Because I'll be the first one to say, I don't know everything. And you know what they told me? They're like, how can we help you? What do you need money for that you can't buy? Because we don't see anything. So from that conversation, I got a $500,000 grant to help get a marketing director, to help get a curriculum director, to help with some school security things. This is all last year. I was then asked to present our story to those in the state of Michigan because they said Pinckney Community Schools is a model of how to embrace challenging times and not only endure it, but to grow. So for those of people who say, hey, we've been frivolous, we've been irresponsible with money, I'll just say, look at the evidence. When I asked the state to come in, and they very well could have said, we're going to take you over because you've been negligent and irresponsible. And the flip happened. I got a grant, and I got invited to speak in Traverse City and areas around the state to share and teach other superintendents and other school boards of how we've done it. That doesn't mean our work still isn't cut out for us, because it is. Even more so now with COVID, which is really frustrating because every step we take, we seem to take 3 steps back. But we're going to continue, and we're going to do the hard work. Because we owe it to you, we owe it to our taxpayers, we owe it to our parents, and most importantly, we owe it to our students. So, some of you may have already voted, you may have already sent in your absentee ballot, but if you still have questions, I'd say just start with the website. It's a fact sheet, we're adding to it, we try to be very transparent, and I'll tell you right now, we've gotten tremendous support from our community. This is a true community school, and I love the pride, I love the investment, I love just how people are pirates, we're red and black across the board. And there was no other district I'd rather be. So I appreciate your time. Thank you, and thanks for having us.
Thank you, Rick Todd, for having us, and thank you for having us here, and thank you for everything that you and your staff do for our community. As Rick said, I'm president of the Chamber of Commerce, and when Rick took over as superintendent, I walked right into his office and said, well, guess what? You're on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. That's one of your responsibilities. And he has done nothing but help us all through it. So, because like he said, the schools need to work with the businesses and the community and everything. So we're doing that. So we're gonna take a quick minute here, and our next session will be with prosecuting attorneys. So we'll get set up here, and then we'll get back to you in a second.